All right, traders, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Tuesday, September 8th. So, welcome back from your 3-day weekend and into some more volatility. So, I'll cut to the chase in this video and we'll go over charts and so forth in this. But, I think bottom line is we are still falling pretty decently and pretty fast to the downside. So, I know probably the $1 million question that's on everybody's mind is, how far down are we going to fall before we basically bounce a little bit? And we just don't know where that's going to be. And what I tried to do and what I try to really help traders do is try to just get out of the way a little bit of this stuff. I'm human and I do try a couple trades in there. And I think really where my worst day was of this mess here was Thursday, because I didn't know that we were going to fall. Obviously, this was going to be the start of the selling on Thursday. So I got a couple, trades underwater from Thursday, and now those trades are basically, as I had thought, basically gone, because if you're buying options in that sense, and the market keeps falling, you have just a lower probability of the names going back. So. The best thing, yeah, of course, this video is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. But it is what it is. The lower risk that you can have on in the situation, the better, right? And every one of these dips, market corrections, which I think you can kind of say that we're under a correction at this point. They are painful for different reasons, but there's a lot of things that are also similar. And getting out of the way and kind of waiting for some confirmation, I think, is important. We talked about this weekend when I did the macro videos. I said, hey, there's a possibility that we can hold this level, which is the top of value in S&P. And I said, if not, you kind of have to get out of the way. And that's what we've got going on here. And closing on the lows, what is not a good sign either. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't bounce tomorrow, but for me, it's just, it is what it is. I don't like to see the closing of the lows, and what I try to do in these markets is compile, a watch list, set alerts, so keep myself busy with trying to not trade as much. Because I just think it's hard. Even if you can find, some names that are really acting a little bit different, like Workhorse was one of the weekend watch list names, but it's the same thing. You really have to manage these things when the market is moving. Look at this thing; it gave back, almost all the profits for the day. So I took some targets in this thing, and I'll show you. I'll show you the trades blotter, and then we'll so you can see exactly how I traded today, right? I gave a couple things a shot, but mainly what I'm doing in this market right now, when the volatility picks up and when price action is very, very fast, as it is, I will day trade a little bit more. So I did some Workhorse, and I got out of Workhorse 23. I'm actually still holding the last piece, so I will hold that until it goes down to my cost basis. But I am holding the last piece. I took 2 targets in this thing. And this was not a huge trade. That's the other thing too that's important right now is to make sure that you're adjusting your position size, right? I would never take a full size position when the market is moving this fast, because that's how you could really kind of blow up your P&L, not just for the day, but for the week or for the month, if you're taking too big of size positions. So the main thing that we talked about too over the last week was when the market starts to move fast as it is, try to limit your position size and try to limit the amount of positions, because if you're not respecting stops and so forth, that's when you're going to have bigger losses on your hands potentially. Same thing for this NVIDIA. I mentioned this morning that I was playing for some bounces, and I got my bounce into 488, which was my level, and I sold out of this, right? So I added NVIDIA 483, took a couple targets, and then got out of this thing at 500, and that was it. I think that was right around the high of the day. Right around 1024 was when I took that position off, and that was it. So, let's talk a little bit about today's price action. First of all, I didn't go over where the indices finished, but I mean the Q's down 4.8%, and no buyers really to be found. I think is disheartening a little bit. And SPY was down 2.7%. Right, these are not small numbers, to be down this much, and basically going down further, after the open, which is what you have in this column N. So I do like to look for what areas of the market are showing some relative strength. I mean, it's nice to see the solar names were up about 1% before they gave it back. But keep in mind, the solar names really got hit hard last week. So that's another group that I'm watching. But I think, for me, I'll just kind of continue to watch. There's always call buying right into this, and I'll go through, a couple names that I thought were interesting that saw not just the weekly stuff. Like Apple will just see like anytime the market there's a green bar, there's Apple calls that are going up, and that are basically just chasing the price action. There was a lot of Disney short-term calls as well. It's that kind of stuff. ITB was green for most of the day. That was up about 1%, and finished down on the day. Yeah, so that couldn't even hold up. Where this thing? Yeah, down 47 basis points. So again, tough to see these bounces, but they're not holding. And I think that was similar to Friday too, right? Friday we did see the market try to bounce, and the bounce just is not strong enough and is getting faded. So you have to wait until these institutions think that this is a buying opportunity and really start to buy, some things. So that's basically what I'm seeing, is that these little bounces that we're seeing, they just run out of steam. And right now, I think that's the best way if you're going to traffic in this market right now, and if you're not playing things to the short side. If you're playing things to the short side, you're having a picnic right now. But if you're not doing that, I think you got to play some things for a bounce and not be greedy, right? Just like I kind of illustrated with that Nvidia trade, and the only thing that I kept on from today, today's risk, I even tried the airlines were all seeing call activity, and I dumped out of this. I don't have any conviction in any of these airlines. So, I usually the first sign of a little bit of adversity, I get out of these airlines really quickly. I just know that they're the one of the worst groups that are out there. So I did try it. We saw calls in the cruise names as well, all short-term stuff. NCLH, CCL, the airlines. We saw AAL. We saw a little bit of UAL, and a couple other names too. But they're not able to obviously power through either in this market. I played a little Home Depot. That's a name that always interests me on dips. You can kind of see where this thing is too. But, again, we don't know if it's going to hold the 50-day moving average. A lot of names are right around the 50-day moving average. That's Home Depot. I didn't talk about the names that reported after the close today, but Lulu put in a pretty solid quarter, but it's really tough to report earnings right now. This thing's holding on for now, but I wouldn't be surprised if this thing goes lower too. There's a VPOC down here, just because the market is just not rewarding anything right now. It's risk off. There's a 333 VPOC. That might be a place where I actually look to buy a little bit. We'll see if we go down there, because I don't think there was anything really negative with that one. Coupa is also getting sold off here in the after hours, 263. Their guidance was a little bit weak, and Slack is also down, which I did not play this to the short side, but I would not play this to the upside if my life depended on it, because this name just stinks on earnings and in general. All right, so that's a couple things. I mentioned I would talk about a few names that saw some call activity. PayPal out to December. There were some December calls. I did not take this trade because I just don't have I don't have a level to trade against. It's caught in the middle. So what I do when I see some option activity on the tape, I don't necessarily like have to take it that day. I just kind of keep it in the back of my mind, and then I monitor a name because PayPal is one of my favorite names too to buy in the dip. But it's below the. I mean, look at what you got going on here. You got a moving average crossover, the 5 crossing below the 20. That's a sell signal. You got price below value. That's a sell signal. You got price below the 50-day moving average. That's a sell signal. So I have to respect that. And I think the next level down is 179. Now, maybe that will get me to try a trade, even though with all those sell signals present, that I think buyers could come back into the name. But we're kind of in the middle of no man's land. And I'm okay waiting for either of these outcomes to play out, a move back above the 50 and a move back inside value. Or if this thing gets cheaper, then I may start to leg into a trade. So that's what I see for PayPal. I can show you the price action in PayPal, or the option flow in this. But I thought that was one of the most interesting things. You could see a couple times. This was December, right? December 190 calls that went up. Looked like maybe some put. Oh, these are tied. Some October stuff too that went up. So that's PayPal. Another one that I thought was interesting was SE. This is another one of my favorite names to buy in the dip. Notice that it has now filled, well, almost filled the earnings gap. So pretty darn near close. And I think down here, 131 may be a place for me to get back involved. Remember, I dumped this name. So here's a good example of just getting out of the way. This is one of my favorite names that I like. And I think I sold this on Friday. And you could see what it's done since, and so you have to respect some of the price action, and say, just get out of the way a little bit, and just live to fight another day. So that's kind of what today and this week is like. I do think that there will be, on the positive side, if you're doing the right thing and kind of staying out of the way, there will be some really good buying opportunities that will develop. But you gotta just let this type of price action continue to occur, and if you get stopped out of some trades, it's not the end of the world. You'll be okay. I've been doing this now for the last couple days, getting stopped out of trades. It's not fun. It's not fun to get out of trades. This was especially like anything options. I want to get out of, like, if unless I get stuck in it. Right, I've gotten stuck in a couple trades, but if there's some value to it that's left, like this coming back to my initial cost basis, I'll unwind it. I'm not going to mess around. There's a couple things that are completely, underwater, and there's nothing I can do to really get those trades to come back. Those are losses. It is what it is. It's part of trading. And if you're going to trade with options, that's the risk that you're going to take, is that you may lose the whole premium. So I've got a couple of those. Dandies on from last week. All right, so that's basically it. We could look at a couple other things, before this video is kind of on the short side, because I just think with the Qs and with the S&P closing on the lows, I just think you need more time. What's concerning to me too is some of the relationships that I tend to use are not really holding up that well. You would think with the S&P down 2.7% that the VIX would be up, probably about 10% or so, and it's not. Now, I'm not sure if that's giving us, like, if that's a positive, that the VIX isn't up that much, or if something just is wrong with the way these instruments are working. Case in point, the VXN, this is the VIX for the Qs. It was actually down today. So you could say from face value that's a bullish development, but I'm not sold on that. I was watching this during the day, and so again, we'll just kind of have to monitor that to see if there's a reason that the relationship isn't holding up. But I thought this was kind of interesting today, that the VIX got to a high of 9. The VXN, excuse me, again, which is the VIX for the Qs, was selling off all morning long, and the market. And usually when this is selling off, the market tends to rebound, and that wasn't doing it. So I'll go back to the Qs. Right, this was happening all the way till about 1:30. And if you look at what the Qs were doing at around 130, they were just sitting here, right? They were just doing this. I was like, where's the rally? I see the VXN selling off hard. Usually, we're up to the, we're up and to the right when you see this happen in the VXN, right, which is here, right, all the way down from 46 to 40, and price action was just going sideways. So I need to kind of get my arms around that, and I think this is one of those things that for now to me just doesn't look right, and that's why I want to let this market settle down so that it's making a little bit more sense. All right, so main theme here and bottom line is kind of what I said on Friday too, was give this market some time to do what it wants to do. We're not bigger than the market, right? We can't do any buying here that's going to make the market go up, right? We just kind of have to let the market do what it wants to do, and then counter once there's a good opportunity. And until then, we'll just continue to day trade and scalp like we did, in the trading room today. And I had 3 or 4 nice trades. But again, you got to be quick with these things. I mean, look at Tesla, for example. Tesla's down 21%, right? These things are coming unwound very quickly. So this is, believe it or not, this is only into the 50-day moving average, and it's just given back, all of this price action. So we'll see if Tesla wants to make a stand here, but I don't expect a major bounce right away. I would expect some backing and filling, and I think that's also with the indices too. Even sideways price action, I think would help a little bit. All right, guys, so that's it. Again, we'll set up again, pre-market, and we'll see how the markets react overnight. I think now with volatility doing what it's doing, I still can't believe the VIX is only 31. So, maybe that is telling us that there's just not that much volatility present in the short term. I'm hoping that that's it, that it's not some malfunction in the VIX. Because again, given that the Qs were down 4.8%, and to see this VXN down is really a head scratcher. So we'll see what we get in the overnight markets, and we'll see how price action tomorrow develops. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.